Hello again, everybody, and welcome back. Today is going to be really quick here. So we're just going to talk about classifying additive and multiplicative relationships. So we talked a bit about this yesterday. So basically we want to see how can we easily tell the difference between an additive or multiplicative relationship, whether we have a graph, a table, or an equation. So what I want us to do here is we are going to have additive, get rid of that, additive, and on this side we'll do multiplicative, I'm gonna abbreviate that. So how can we tell if we have an additive relationship? So if we remember from our notes yesterday, it has to follow the y equals x plus b format, where b is anything but 0, cannot be 0. So that's how we can tell if we have an equation. If you have a table, you need to test your x's and y's to see if, so 1, 2, 3, and we'll go 4, 5, 6. So if you are adding by the same amount for every x to y, so this one is plus 3, 2 to 5 is plus 3, and 3 to 6 is plus 3. So we know that is an additive relationship because we are adding the same amount. So that's how we can tell from a table. And then how can we tell from a graph? So there are two things has to happen. It is a straight line, and 2, it does not pass through the origin, or 0, 0. So those are the three ways we can tell. So we had equation, we had how do we tell for a table, and we have how do we tell for a graph. Those are the three ways we can tell. So for multiplicative, if we remember from our notes yesterday, they follow the equation y equals m times x, where m is anything but 0. M cannot be 0. How can we tell from a table? Well, x, y. So let's go 2, 4, 6, and then 4, 8, 12. So if we are multiplying by the same amount each time, then it is a multiplicative relationship. So we get from 2 to 4 by timesing by 2. We get from 4 to 8 by timesing by 2. And we get from 6 to 12, you guessed it, timesing by 2. So this would be a multiplicative relationship based on this table. And then from a graph, it's going to be kind of like additive, but one subtle difference. So it's still a straight line, has to be a straight line. And the difference between additive and multiplicative is multiplicative relationships do pass through the origin, or 0, 0. So let's go ahead and test these out with each of these. So part A here, we notice we have a straight line, so let's try to tell just by graphing it. So we've got our straight line here, and what is going on with this straight line? It is not going through the origin, right? So we think this may be additive, but let's find the table of values and then the equation just to be sure. So our first point we have here is 1, 2. So our x is 1 and our y is 2. Next one we have 2 to the right and 3 up. So x is 2 and y is 3. And then the next one we have 3 and 4 up. So x is 3 and that is 4. So now we have to make an equation. We know it's going to be y equals x plus something. Well, let's figure out what that is. So how did I get from 1 to 2? Oops. Well, I added 1. From 2 to 3, I added 1. And from 3 to 4, I also added 1. So that is going to be our b value for this thing. So our equation is y equals x plus 1, since our b was 1. All right, now moving on, I'm just going to sketch a quick straight line here. All right, so now this is a straight line, and it is passing through the origin here. So we think it's going to be multiplicative based on what we talked about earlier up here. So once again, let's do our table of values and find out. So our first point here, we are going to the left 2 and down 4. So that's going to make our x -2 and our y -4. We are hitting the origin, so 0, 0. That's also why we thought it was multiplicative. And this is going to follow the equation y equals m times x. I didn't put my m in there because we got to figure out what m is. Whoops, sorry, I forgot about a point here. So we go to the right 1 and up 2, which makes our final point 1, 2. So let's figure out if this is multiplicative. Well, how am I getting from -2 to -4? Well, I am timesing by 2. Get from 0 to 0. This is nifty because we can multiply 0 by anything to get to 0. So let's just use the thing we're looking for. Nice and convenient there. And then how did I get from 1 to 2? Well, I timesed by 2. So just like additive, this times 2, the number we multiply by, is going to be our m value. So our equation is going to be, excuse me, y equals m times x, and we just said that m is 2. So there's our equation for that line. And then finally, we've got one more to do here. One more to go through together. So my first point, well, first of all, let's take a look. It does not go through the origin, but it is a straight line. So we think this will be additive. Well, let's test our points. So we've got 1 to the right, down 2. So this will be 1, -2. Over 2, down 1. So 2, -1. And then over 3, and I went nowhere on that thing. All right, so we thought it was additive. Let's double check it. How do I get from 1 to -2? Well, I have to subtract 3. How did I get from 2 to -1? Well, once again, subtracting 3. And then 3 to 0, I am subtracting 3. So remember, additive relationships also include subtractions here. So we are following y equals x plus b, and we said our b is -3. So there we have it. It is additive relationship. We were right in guessing that. Another way we could write this, remember that adding negatives is really subtracting. So another way we could write this is y equals x minus 3. So these are the ways we can quickly tell if we have a additive multiplicative relationship based on graphs, tables, and equations. So just remember, for the equations, additive follows our y equals x plus b form. Or for a table, if we're adding by the same amount every time. Or if we have a graph, then it is a straight line but does not go through the origin. For multiplicative, it follows the format y equals m times x. In a table, if we are multiplying by the same thing to get from our x to our y values, or if we have a graph, it will be a straight line that does pass through the origin. So If it passes through 0, 0, and it's a straight line, you'll know right away it's multiplicative. And then we tested out each of those methods here for our examples. All right. So if you're doing your independent practice on a separate sheet of paper, you can just go ahead and give me, so I know you can't circle these, but I guess if you just copy them down on your paper, quick little sketches, and put them in about the right same position, then you can circle them on your paper and square. So draw a circle around items that represent additive relationships, draw a square around items that represent multiplicative relationships. All right, so this is not the only part of your assignment, so there is another PDF on the assignment tab next, and there is an IXL to go with this, so pay attention that you're turning in everything where it needs to go. And as always, if you have any questions or concerns, feel free to shoot me an email or send me a message on Canvas, and I will get back to you with an explanation as soon as I can. All right, thank you very much, and have a great day, and I will talk to you guys on Thursday for